You just tuned in to Up for Discussion.
We've got 1 minute and 48 seconds. You guys ought to tune in. Make sure to like and share on Facebook and YouTube. Stop doing that, Josh. Good.
Oh yeah, that part of it.
Hey!
We missed it.
It is. Big L Cuba.
Hey!
Hopefully you guys are gearing up. Season's coming close.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we are at Up for Discussion here at Ultra Products. This evening, we will be talking about, it's about that time, early season tactics, things that we are preparing for currently, and ways that we are prepping for the upcoming season. It's going to be really good, really entertaining. I feel like, man, I'm excited to have you guys on.
Yeah,
Early season.
Early season,
it's
baby.
coming.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquito heaven. We know where that's at.
Sweat.
Yeah. Food plots.
And big
You,
calcium
you name it.
deposits.
We're going to be talking about it this evening. We've got a lot of cameras out. We've been watching a lot of good deer. And I'm telling you, with this rain, the way it's been this year,
Yeah,
it's going to be a phenomenal year for guys to be out there.
antlers are big.
Yeah, it seems like the bucks are good from what I've seen. I don't remember where I heard it, but I always repeat it. I'd love to give whoever said it first to me credit, but they said water makes antlers grow.
And there's not been a lot of stagnant water. I'd say the EHD is not very bad.
Well, there was some reports of that today, wasn't there?
up north though, wasn't it?
There's been reports up around Wabash.
northern Indiana.
You know, so
Is
you
that
can-
where it was at?
Yeah, Wabash. Indiana.
Wabash, Indiana.
Yes,
All right.
yes, not.
Okay.
Well,
They-
that's better.
We've
I
been
don't-
good.
I love for our deer to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wabash, Indiana. I hope you guys get deer
Yeah.
that live too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we'd really feel if it was us.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
back to the water.
Yep.
I guess the theory behind that saying is some old timer told me, water makes antlers grow just like it makes plants grow. I think the basis of it is everything stays green,
Yeah.
higher in mineral and vitamins, when
Protein, it's all there.
when it's flush and green and
Mhm.
all that. So naturally, it helps those antlers grow. So yes, water does make antlers grow, and it would seem this year. I don't know. Can you speak to the fact that have a buck from last year? Did he seem to have some good gains? Because
I've got a couple that definitely.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if you know a buck for 2 or 3 years, somebody can chime in if you've been watching the same buck on your cameras for 2 or 3 years. Did he do something even more special because it's been so wet? Or
Everything I've seen this year has had lots of trash. And lots
Before
of
we get too
unique-
far, can I ask this? Have you
Yeah.
guys clarified that we are rolling audio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're live.
All right, that's perfect.
Audio check.
I
Right.
checked
Jay
for
Wallace.
too.
Thank you for watching, Jay. We appreciate everybody who watches weekly, and Jay is definitely one of those guys who stays in tune.
Yeah,
So,
brother Jay.
Yeah,
Jay.
that's
Jay, I
right.
think if we were both the same age, I'd love to arm wrestle you one day. You could probably still
Probably
beat
put a
me.
whipping
I
on you.
just, I just looked at him that day as he was in here. I don't know if I really knew him before, but I thought, man, there was probably a day when
Yeah.
I
he
bet
could
Jay
pull.
could rip your arm right off.
Probably still.
And hand it
probably
to you and say, "Here's
yeah.
your arm."
Yeah, here's your arm. Feed yourself with that.
Oh man. So this evening we're going to be touching on several of those things that we are prepping for. Clint Harvey was in the shop today, and we got to talking and chit-chatting about things that he would like to see. Clint is a regular watcher, and because of that, I asked him, what's something that we've not covered in depth that you would like to hear about? And what he mentioned is, he said, I'd love to hear early season tactics and what you guys do to prepare for season, and what that looks like. So
And that's
we've got
probably
Rodney Hawkins watching as well.
Rod
welcome
the
to
Bod.
welcome to the show, Rod.
It's probably going to be different for everybody.
It
with,
is.
with some
Yeah,
similarities.
I have what I'd like to talk about. I got that little feather in my cap here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
I think we
thinking.
all look at early season quite different.
A little differently. Sure.
Yeah. And there was a long time where, and we've addressed this several times, but there was a long time where me and Lathan, we were in there every single chance we could get early season.
From October 1st till,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's been a morphing of my thoughts in regards to that. One of them was when we were just starting out, it was like, in order to get footage we were hunting.
Time.
And I think that there was times when we ruined places
Sure.
because we just, we were in
Overhunted
there.
it.
We were over hunting it, and we were hunting it probably not as well as we could have.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
There's definitely some truth in that for sure.
But we've learned a lot. And then there was a period where, because I felt that way, I almost went the other way.
It's
To where it was like, we don't hunt October hardly at all.
I've heard that so much.
And
yeah, well, there's truth in that, but then also I think our life,
it
has
was partly
changed,
that too.
you know,
Yeah,
things-
it was a
things
culmination
change.
of several different
Right.
things. But I would say now, where I'm at with it is, I think there's a period of October that is prime.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's a period which, most guys will tell you there's a lull. And whether it's a true lull or not, I can't speak to that. But there's a change that happens.
Can we discuss that?
Not yet.
Should have brought my pencil and paper.
There's a change that happens in the deer population to where they start out
Together.
and they view each other as not enemies.
They're social.
They are. And then something switches. And honestly, the switch is before October. But because of that, it creates an early season October that if you can kill in the first 2 weeks,
Some of the best.
It's good.
Some of the best opportunities a guy can get.
yeah.
And do you mean the most of the switching that you're talking about is in the bucks or the does as well? I think it
I think
it's
it
all around.
I think it bleeds into the does as well.
I think it does.
They
You
start.
know,
They start.
Because if you'll notice in the summertime, like right now, the fawns are getting some decent size on them.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of small little fellers you see running around,
Yeah.
but you see those does with their fawns very secluded.
Yeah, they're off to by themselves. in their
Yeah,
own
and
little
if they're in the
spots.
same field feeding in a Bing field, it's like Mama Doe's over here with her twins, then 60 yards over here. It's
There's
like they're
another.
still not fully
Yeah.
social. And of course, you're going into October. I've always said, I know when the rut is happening, when all of a sudden you see fawns walking around the woods looking,
with nothing.
Oh, yeah.
what just happened?
Where's my mom? Have
Mama.
you seen? Have you
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
my mom?
So that's a big change
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
And then if you think about the bucks, I've always think about the physical change
Oh, the switch that's flipped and what
in
happens to
1
them.
year's time that a buck goes through. It's pretty phenomenal if you think about
Some of them die.
it. I used to be a kid and think you'd see them in the summer, and here they are, little skinny necked, red,
Mhm.
red hair.
Beautiful.
Their nose looks, when they're mature, you see a big buck and he's got this big, long, skinny head and skinny neck and fat belly. and he's getting antlers, and they're just big knobs,
Yeah.
in June and late May with velvet on them. And in just a year's time, and now I seen some pictures the other day of bucks that already not taking their velvet off,
But
but
they're getting
already
ready
starting
to.
to see some difference in
Their
their neck and different things. And I thought,
Their glands or foreheads are starting to
That's
get
totally-
dark.
that's-
I got a picture yesterday of one that is about half off already.
velvet.
Really? So
Yeah.
they're starting to
Yeah.
He's
peel off.
already peeling.
I think it was Doug Doty was in here, and we was looking at a picture, and there's a buck had his head turned, and I said, look at that, Doug, he's already getting that.
Yeah, knuckling
And he
up.
was full velvet, and I was like, that is totally based upon chemicals running through his system, because
Sure.
he ain't working his neck yet, because
Yeah,
he
that-
still had all of his velvet on, so
Yeah.
he's not rubbing and exercising and pushing on trees, building. So me and Doug were taking note of that is totally
They're defining.
a chemical change that's
Yeah.
taking place in his bloodstream.
That's right.
He's on the andro. He's getting on the.
He's getting
what
swelled
is it?
up. He's getting
I don't know
swelled
what
up.
it'd be. What the I know it's
Beans.
The old
testosterone. but-
creatine level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
creatine.
Yeah.
Extra
I don't know
beans
what
at
the
night.
big steroid is nowadays. I don't even know what it was back in my
I can't
days
tell
either,
ya.
because I never did take them. But anyhow,
I mean, look at me. Do I
Yeah.
look like I've been on roids?
No,
Uh,
you look all right though.
this is pure me.
This is 100% what I can produce in and of myself. No outside
Oh,
help, right?
God.
100% authentic.
Yeah, no synthetics here.
That's right. Periodically, you see a cursor across the screen in the back. That's because I don't know what I'm doing yet.
We're learning. We're learning.
We just got a new computer to run this whole rig, and in the process of that, setting things up took a little bit longer, but
It's nice.
we're here. We're rolling.
So how do you kick off early season?
So I would think
Like
to start out.
strategies or
So we're prepping currently.
Yeah, and I
Let's
guess
talk about that.
so. I guess yeah, and take this in mind. We'll go that route and be thinking this way. What is your go-to early season thing as an individual? Us three, and then we can throw that out, and people can.
So let's do this. Let's break this into a couple different parts. Let's do a preseason, like what we're doing right now.
to get ready for
In order-
season,
Yes.
like equipment
And
all the
then-
good stuff.
Then let's do a seasonal thing where it's like, okay, we've reached season. Now what are we doing to target those bucks in the first 2 weeks?
What strategy are we using
Yeah.
to hunt them?
Because those first 2 weeks are your opportunity
Some
to
of the
kill.
best.
Yeah,
Some
I mean,
big,
for
big deer.
years, I said the first 3 days, first 3 to 4 days.
I say October 10th,
You know,
and that's
for
just
me,
a generic thing.
from what I've
use.
seen over my years, because if I ever seen a big mature deer in October pre-Halloween, it seemed like it was like day 1, day 2. I was like, whoa, you know, and you're like the first day or 2
Yeah,
in,
he's
and
standing in the
there's
field with 4
yeah,
other ones that
yeah.
are giants.
And then
Yeah.
it, for me, in all my hunting, which is looking at 30 years, you know, a lot of those years as a kid didn't know what I was doing, but you're learning all the time.
Sure.
For me, it would have seemed that there was such thing as a lull. Now, I only could base that upon the fact that
I think what we call a lull is just a shift in their movement.
And I think what changes that shift is a moon phase, but we may or may not go there.
yeah, I mean, so I'm not going to use the moon to make all my decisions.
I use the moon to make very few of my decisions. And here's why. I'm not saying that it doesn't play a role because I believe that it does.
It moves the ocean up and down every day.
Yes, it does. But here's what I mean. Every year around November, let's call it 9th, things start kicking off. Whether the moon is,
Regardless.
yes.
And that
Yeah.
depends whether you see day or night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless of what's happening with the moon, the cycles still occur.
Mhm.
Right.
Like,
But depending on the weather is whether or not you have daytime.
I don't disagree with those things, but what I'm saying is the cycles that God has set
Mhm.
are the cycles that happen every year,
Sure.
regardless of whether
Right.
the moon is.
It may fall on a different day, a calendar day,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
it's there.
I mean, November, there could be does being bred November 1st.
Yeah.
Now,
The first few
the
probably
heat of
get
the
it.
battle is everyone always asks, and we used to get real serious about Googling and checking and researching, because we used to have to really hone down. We wanted to hit it right because, and we're getting away from early season if we're not careful, but
You guys keep talking because I need some coffee. Would you
okay,
like a cup of coffee as well?
you can freshen me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back. But while I'm gone, just ponder on how that, what the early season is looking like, or preseason is looking like
Preseason.
for us right now.
And I'll finish my thought about the rut.
Okay.
The rut for me, people in the last 10 years, this is how it's answered people, because we used to, we were relegated to 5 or 6 days of vacation
Sure. So
back in
try
the
to
day.
time it.
We've been blessed now where we can get more time in the field, generally speaking. But back then, people's like, "What?" Well, everybody worked at the factory. Everybody's trying
What
to
day
decide
they going to
what's the
start?
best day.
Yeah. What day they going to go?
And I always said, here's the deal. In all my years, plus or minus 3 days, 4 days on Veterans Day. Generally plus, because Veterans Day generally falls around 9, 10, 11.
By then they're already going.
Yeah.
It's
So 3 days plus right on Veterans Day. I mean, I've been hunting on Veterans Day and seen multiple does get bred and see those crazy like $4 and $5 chasing one doe type,
Catch 'em.
one big buck trying to fight off 3 or 4 other semi-mature bucks, and things like that. So I just always say,
in the week or two leading up to
Yeah.
that, they're cruising.
so if you
hard,
want to hunt the 100% lockdown type rut where big bucks are with does all day long, you're looking at Veterans Day. If you want to hunt the pre, you need to take off the first week of
November or the
November.
very end of October.
If you want to hunt the post,
How many
anything after
how many
gun
bucks
season.
do you see come up that are going to light up the day or the day before or day after Halloween
Right.
every year?
Right.
Facebook will be full of
He's coming
Give that
in.
to my man.
a
He's
big,
coming in.
big gnarly antlers.
You about knocked old Junior off the wall up there.
All right.
But anyway,
So now we need to get to what our preseason is like.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that in the last few years, my preseason has not been much because my mind has went to elk hunting.
Well, everything is
But this year, it's a little bit more honed back in.
why
Yeah.
is that? Is that because we're seeing big deer?
I think it's because you guys are pushing me,
We're good friends.
but I need a good push every now and again.
We're good friends.
it's good to get pushed.
And then I'll take you to the mountains and I'll push you. Ask
Oh, I know that's coming. I know that's coming. I'm going to be like, I was joking with a guy today. I'm going to go like this. They're like, what are you going to be doing when you're out there? I said, I'm going to be going, hang on.
So my preseason, well, now and for years would have been, everybody knows by now I'm not the camera guy, but I'm not against them. And my preseason has always stemmed a little bit because I've always been with Wes
Sure.
for the last 20 years. And he's always had a camera too. So we have based some of our decisions on cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Wes could attest to this. Back in the summer and the early days, every night it was
Yeah.
basically just customary
Go cruising.
that he met at my driveway
Yeah.
every evening. The last 40,
Makes me want to cry. Man.
yeah, the last 45 minutes or so
Oh,
of
God.
daylight.
Go drive around.
So one of my early season scouting or preseason scouting techniques, especially getting close, would be what most whitetail hunters do of an evening: start checking bean fields
We need to be doing
Yeah.
that.
and seeing what they're doing. And then we would hone it down to like, all right, that buck's close to this bean field, which is way behind that bean field, which means there potentially could be some green beans in the field,
Mhm.
not yellow dead stuff,
Yeah.
still green leaf beans on October 1st.
around the edges.
So that
or-
that would be one thing. So for those guys that are listening and watching, one thing that you need to do, you need to go around and find every bean field that is behind all the other bean fields.
Which
secluded.
will potentially still be green on October
Mhm.
1st.
Yeah.
like your second.
It's not guaranteeing that the buck that you want to kill is in that field,
Right.
but you need to know around the areas that you hunt, what are the bean fields that are behind.
Where did they harvest the wheat?
I got to
Where did you get your second?
interrupt. If Yard Design by TG is still watching, say, hey, TG, man, we love you and miss you. Haven't seen you in a long time.
TG, man.
Instrumental in my life.
That's
right?
right.
Monster truck.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
That's
If
right.
you're still watching, say hello.
Bort, Scourgety, Virgety.
Home skillet. What's up? my
That's
home
right.
skillet?
That's awesome.
So what I'm saying, though, is those bean fields,
your double crop beans. That's the ones that are
it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that are
yeah.
running late. Yeah,
Of course, it's got to be in the right spot.
it
you
does.
know. It's got to be close to the deer that you're hunting.
It's got to be next to a spot where you can have legal, right to hunt.
right
and
to
there's
hunt it.
and there's a big deer there.
And he's got to have
And it
some
has
place
to be a good
sleep.
deer. Yeah.
He's got to have some good place for him to sleep, real close to
Some
it.
water,
to
some
bed down.
security. He's
But
got-
but if you've done your homework and you've called farmers and you've called, people with property, and you've made those things happen, which, I mean, that's all part of doing the homework.
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, we've called a lot of people and asked for permission to hunt,
Yeah.
and we've got a lot of no's, and we've got
You get a lot
more
of
yeses.
And some of them are just for like, we're only probably going to hunt this week. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you harvest those beans, things change.
Yeah.
And it can be an out of the way spot that has just enough right stuff,
Yeah.
and the beans stay green long enough. And we have one place, I'm thinking of a hunt in particular,
I know
where-
exactly where you're
where
thinking.
we were like, these beans are still green. There wasn't really any good hunting to hunt it because he's bedding right there close, probably with like where either
Or
gonna
in the
bust him.
beans. Sometimes they'll lay in
we,
the
Well,
beans.
we had permission to be in the beans.
So
we
we-
did not have permission to be in the woods.
So there was a waterway
yeah.
Yeah.
that cut down through the middle of these beans. So we basically walked up the waterway where they don't plant beans,
Mm-hmm.
and they leave the fescue or whatever, so the low place don't wash out. You see them all the time,
Oh,
12 yards, 15
Yeah.
yards wide.
Yeah.
We walk up the waterway, set in the waterway, because those beans held their green.
Yep.
That year, that particular field was behind the others, held its green into the first several days of October. And we sat right on the ground out there and almost killed a dandy 8-pointer.
You talk about good footage, man.
I shot over his back. He beat me to the punch.
Yeah.
They drop out on
yeah,
you.
he dropped out. He knew.
So close.
But
It
we're
was so close. To
we're
happening.
expecting him to come out of the bedding brush into the beans, because that's what we'd been
Yeah.
long range before cameras.
Was he in the beans?
We've
Oh, he
been-
was laying right there, right next to
Yeah.
us.
He
we're,
stood up
we're
on you.
laying, we're laying on
Pops
the
up right next to us.
We're
Wow.
laying,
We're like,
and we'd been there. We'd been
Wow.
there like an hour.
oh, every bit of
He
it.
was laying in that
I was
waterway.
laying
A lot
on
of
my
them.
side, in the fescue right up next to the edge of the beans. We're just going to lay there in the grass
Sure.
and wait for him to come out of that woods. We're about 50 yards out from the woods, thinking if we're 50 or 60 out, he'll
You
come
might
out.
even be able to move around
He'll
in there a
come
little
out.
bit.
He'll
Yeah.
come out 20 or 30 yards like he'd been doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feed, and I'll raise up and shoot him. And we're laying there talking. I'm laying on my side with my head, cocked. And Wes goes, "Don't move." And I was like, "What? What?" He goes, "He's here. He's here. He's out. The buck that we've been watching's out." And I was like, "I'm looking over the top of the beans, trying to see where he come from the woods." He goes, "No, he's over here." He was laying what, 40
Wow.
Right
yards
next
from
to
us.
us.
Right on you.
That whole hour or evening, he's laying out in the beans. So be mindful of
Latham
that.
was like this, and the buck was like this.
Yeah.
I
Just
mean, close,
resting.
man.
It's
Yeah.
a wonder he didn't hear it, because we're laying out there talking, and
Sure.
stuff.
You must have had enough wind. Or,
Yeah, it was a little breezy, I think, that evening.
Clint says early cut corn is hard to beat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
The day
Oh,
after
it-
they cut it,
It
too.
sucks them in.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like they can
And-
smell that
Well,
combine from a mile. and they'll move to it.
and they're like this. Deer are lazy, and so they're like, I don't have to work to get it off the cob. It's just on the
Yeah.
ground. They're natural browsers anyway. So
And let me throw this out in basically in response to that. One of my favorite hunts that we've ever had, and we've done it a few times, but whenever they start combining, we are like, get to that spot.
Yeah.
they pile up and they'll wait on the edge of the
Oh,
field.
they
man.
will. It will be like,
They're all
You'll-
down in a hole. Like
oh, you'll
as soon
see.
as he's gone, man, we're going for it.
They're in like the last 30 rows, and you can just see them piling out.
If-
I mean,
Have you ever been? So I've been in a combine when that's happened. It is.
Unique.
I've been in a
See the
combine.
corn wiggling and
Well,
moving.
you'll watch them. They'll literally get right up in front of you, and they'll just sit there and walk in front of you. Like when you finally get down to the last 2 or 3 passes,
yeah.
and they'll just bump over, and you'll go by, and you'll flip around, and you'll come down through, and they'll all just kind of single file, and then it's like this. You get to the last one, they'll be in that last row, and you'll be coming down through there, and you'll get right to the end, and it'll just be like they'll just all start stepping out. And the
Yeah.
last one's literally like, and away they go.
That's
You
such
know,
a unique
I've seen
thing,
it.
isn't
I've
Yeah.
watched it. You know.
And about every rabbit in a quarter
Oh.
mile piles up too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right. So you have to pay attention. That's a good point, Clint.
Yeah.
Your preseason, if there's I don't know if we'll have it this year because it's so moist out there. The corn may hang on to its green longer. The beans are probably
They're
going
gonna
to
cut
hang.
it.
Here's the
They're gonna
thing,
cut
though.
it, though,
Corn
man.
is all based on time,
Yeah.
regardless of moisture.
The thing,
and I could be wrong with that, but I'm
Well,
pretty sure most of the time.
It's got to get to a certain moisture.
the price is very low right now. So a lot of your farmers,
They'll let it hang.
they're going
as
to let it
long
hang.
as they
Some of
can.
a lot of your bigger farmers though they don't have a choice because
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have such a big yield this year, and that's another reason I think the antlers are so big. Is like you were saying, just a really good year. We went from freaking out like we're not going to be able to plant a crop to this is the best crop
Sub-
we've ever had.
Like all of a sudden we're living in a
has.
subtropical
Yeah,
Things have
climate.
changed a
They
bunch.
did
Yeah.
change all on moisture. you
Because we
know.
had a 2.5 week drought that farmers were starting to freak out.
and they
things
weren't
were
planting
getting-
corn until May
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
until late May, June. Which
But
is crazy for around here.
so they'll leave it. Some of them can't because they're so big, but if they get it out with in a certain, the farmers, anyone listens could really educate us, but they would love to not to have to dry it down.
Sure.
Because they spend
Make more money.
Yeah.
a lot of money on liquid propane and stuff, getting it dried
My
down.
dad's been hauling a bunch of dryer gas right
Yeah,
now. Got
so-
some of these big farmers.
But some
getting
of them are
ready.
so big they're going to have to. So yeah, if you're hunting a spot and say the night or two before season, you
Oh,
see the
it's
corn coming
good.
out, you better pay attention to it the next couple of nights because
Yeah.
old thunder squatch might be there.
I like to use the corn as edging too. Like the corn, if the corn's still in, it will buffer the deer. It's
Yeah.
just easier. I mean, will they cut across there? Yeah, they will. They, over the summer they blasted some pretty good runs across there, but the corn will hem them in, and you can play the corn too, and you can use it. If you have two cornfields and you have a nice little thick fence row in between,
Sure, That's
you
can
can-
be an ideal spot.
you can slip
for-
in that fence row and you can be like, I guarantee you on one end edge of this or the other, he's coming up through here.
Yeah.
So
I think food is a major right off the bat.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
what drives them.
they're still somewhat in that mode. of-
Yeah.
that's why we're alluding to like that patch of green beans that hasn't lost its green.
So can I go?
You can go.
Can I like to? May I
Let me take the reins and let you go.
rein me in?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm on cut them loose, man. Just
Oh,
gonna
should
drop them
do-
to the side.
should do that. I'm just gonna do like my early season, like what I do early
Yep.
season.
Tell us.
Okay, so like obviously the
Make sure you get close enough.
I'm very close. So close it's almost uncomfortable.
For you or for the listener?
For the listener, you can hear my voice, hear the moisture on my lips. But so anyway, something I like to do, and I've had some really good luck killing some. I've killed some really nice deer in the first week of deer season. And I've done very good doing the same thing you guys are talking about, driving around scouting, and some other places I've been like I've had no intel at all, but I just knew what they were doing. That I have found that a lot of these big bucks, I will kind of go into some deeper wood stuff, like some pinch points in between big pieces of property that kind of like may funnel between one field and another, and like a draw, like a good draw. And I will hunt the edges in between there, and I'll go and I will set up in there.
Like two big timbers, hourglass.
Two big timbers, like where the hourglass, and say there's big ag fields on both sides. And preferably I will use, once the beans already dry, I'll use the corn side, preferably, because I feel like they kind of gravitate towards that once the beans dry up.
Sure.
And I will set on the corn side of things. And I have killed some really big deer that have come in, and I mean big deer on their feet at 3:30, 4 o'clock that are up on their feet.
Early.
In the early, they have no clue that I'm even there. There's been no threat in there. I'm in the deep timber. They've been freely moving around in there all summer. And here I am. And I make what I'll do is I'll go in June, July, and I'll make my set. I'll be like, right here, this is it.
Yeah.
And I'll pin me a tree. I'll go ahead and climb, trim maybe trim a window or two out, throw a little stick 'em in there, a little night owl, a little tack, throw a little tack on there, and then out I go.
So let me ask you this, Josh. Do you ask for permission based on the deer that you see around a place, or do you ask permission based on how huntable you think a place could be?
How huntable.
I think
Because-
that's a good plan.
I think that's my route too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in Southern Illinois. Obviously,
It's big deer all over.
any section crop, they're all have similarities.
Yeah.
any one of them at any time can have one of the biggest deer you ever seen in
Yeah,
your life.
that's
in
right.
it. You know what I mean? So that's not to say there's places that are better. So I guess I would lean more towards like that is because we've had places like this is so easy to hunt this place.
Yeah,
Like
and that's good.
every time we go, we see good deer. There's a patch that we hunted for years. Every time we hunted there, almost every time you'd see a shooter or a good buck. Maybe not one you want to shoot, but it keeps the juices flowing because it's a good 3.5 year
Keeps
old.
you going.
Yeah,
man.
and you're like, man, that's a good deer. And then the next morning, you see another one and another one. And we've taken lots of Pope and young bucks out
Mhm.
of there. It's just simple to hunt.
Yeah.
It's like an easy walk. You can get into it without busting them, and they're always there.
Yeah.
So there's places like that. And then we've had places it's like, man, they're
Anytime.
here, but they're hard to hunt here.
Yeah.
You know?
And the reason why those places are so special to us is because anytime you can get into the woods without causing any intrusion
Yeah.
whatsoever,
Yeah.
you are at a major advantage. And because of that, like I think that's something that some people just way overlook. Like they'll just go, blumbering into a woods.
You have to think about where you're going, man.
And you have to think of it. If you were to come into my house and just stumble around, I'd be like, who in the world
It's in my home.
Yeah, because if you just came in blind into my home, you don't know where my bedroom is. You don't know where the bathroom is.
Where my guns
searching.
are.
That's right. But that being the case, when we go into a woods and we just stagger in, like without any forethought of where might these deer, and here's the thing, there is a place for that, but the place is not October 1st.
No, it's not. That needs you to be very strategic.
Yeah.
When I'm hunting these little pinches like that, I'm actually pretty close to their beds.
I was
buck bed.
getting ready to transition to that because like for me hunting a big deer October 1st, you have to be
Close to
as
it.
close to his bed as you can be without messing him up.
Without intrusion.
And you're
That's right.
basically in. So you go back to the house analogy.
Yeah.
You need to set in the hallway.
That's outside his bedroom.
That's between
Yes.
his bedroom and his kitchen.
That's right.
You know,
And
that's
I think that is
And
a
if you-
fantastic analogy.
If
And
you
that's
can
right.
find that hallway,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, because think how many times you go down a hallway if you have a hallway in your house. You go down that hallway with no thought.
You're looking
Yeah.
at the end of the tunnel.
You don't have a whole lot of thought. And I don't mean that a buck's just going to walk down through there and not smell you, not see you. You got to play it right. Sit on the downwind side of the
Mhm.
run, you know, however that looks. Find the best tree that you can sit in, not get spotted. If you're on the ground, Clint, hunker up tight next to the right kind
Big
of brush.
tree or something.
That's
You
right.
know, I always tell people, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, if you're hunting on the ground, don't set 10 yards from the run that you think he's going to be on.
Yeah,
Set
because he'll bust you.
set 25 or 30
Yeah.
yards. I mean, I want to shoot bucks off the ground at 30 and 40 yards. I don't want to shoot them at 10. As cool as it is,
Yeah.
because you're
Hard.
not going to kill him as many times at 10.
It'd be hard to get drawback.
And I've
on.
killed some at 10 and 12 off the ground,
It's a tough game.
but it's a
You're eye
different,
level with them.
you know, but if you're going to set on the ground, set 30 or 40 yards off of his run and make sure you got good shots to the run, set on the downwind side, and you'll find that you can get your bow drawn back, and they're easier to hit off the ground anyway.
All right. So all
They
of
are.
that.
They're flatter looking.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have the angle,
you know,
do you?
To me, it's always been easier to aim at a deer off the ground than once I get up in the tree.
Trying to figure out where that arrow goes. 'Cause
Yeah.
You can miss some vitals.
But so back to that, you got to get to me, I want to get as close to their bed. You know, I push the envelope just a freckle.
Not on wind, but just on getting close.
Getting
Right?
Proximity.
close.
Yeah.
But you can do that in the early season.
If you can get within 100 yards of him,
you never go backwards on the wind.
Yes.
That
He
early
will-
season.
he
Now
will
you-
not come out on you.
But-
But, but what you said is perfect. You've got to get between his bedroom and the kitchen.
Yeah, basically.
and
Yeah.
and I've noticed what they'll do is not all of them. I can't speak
of an
for-
evening.
Yeah, of an
Yeah.
evening. What I'll see they'll do, and you guys you'll attest to this. You have these what I call transition spots in the woods where these deer will come up on the edge and they'll just hole up right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll stop and wait.
And they'll wait. And if you can if you know where that's at, if you can be like right here, you know, you can set yourself just a little bit before he gets there.
But some of that is determined only by
Experience
experience.
of being there.
Yeah, and knowing the woods, knowing what you've seen in the years prior, and as you gain that knowledge, that's when you begin to implement it.
Better
So,
hunter. I mean,
yeah,
how many times have you guys walk in the woods and you know, you kind of that first trip or two, you know, there's might be a rub here or a rub there, nothing, you know, crazy, not much sign at all. And then you come back, you know, the middle of November and the whole edge of it's just blowed out, you know, and you can see that that's what they're doing. They're just setting in this edge this whole time. It's like you can almost picture these big bucks just working the entire edge all night
Right.
long, you know, and it's like,
well, and I think a lot of times how me and Lathan have done it is we went in, you know, maybe the first week in November to go and hunt a spot, and as we walked in, we were like, oh, look at, you know, where they've destroyed this area.
Right.
And it's like, had we known, but
mhm.
the thing is that we know now.
Yeah.
So for next year, we got to
It's
implement
huntable
that.
now. Yeah.
And I think those things, you have to catalog those things and to be like, all right, I know in this spot, they like to come out in this corner,
This corner, or they cut that corner.
absolutely.
you know, they'll
and
run the
just
edge of that
learning.
ridge.
Like it takes a long time to learn an area and how they operate in it.
Yeah.
And just
So-
the nature of deer, like you'll notice, like the edges, like around here we have lots of rivers, you know, we have lots of river bottoms, and so you have lots of ridges, these little river ridges and stuff, and you'll see like a lot of times they'll come out on that halfway point, the middle of the ridge, where they
Yeah.
can still see the top, but yet they can look down and they can see, you know, they have a vantage point. I've noticed a lot of bucks doing that, you know, like, so if I ever have a spot to hunt the side of a ridge, I'll normally try to hunt the, you know, be upwind of that spot where they come out on the edges of those ridges and stuff. And
Right.
so that's just bottom. I guess I'm just talking about like particularly like hunting river bottoms and creek banks and stuff like that. And
Yeah, there's difference in places, but we don't have near the vastness of topography or whatever that word is. You know, you got a
Yeah,
river
we don't.
bottom or some sloping hills,
mhm.
and mostly you've got at the most in many places you may get 120 or 30 acres of woods, but not very often.
That's pretty
You've
big,
got
yeah.
you've got 20 to 30 acre patches of woods with draws and fence rows coming out of it, and it's a quarter mile to the next 20 acre patch of woods or brush and things like that. So
Figure out how to play the fence rows, how they connect. And,
yeah, we have technology today. You know, you can pull up a
yeah.
Google Map image or an OnX image or whatever, and you can look at it from the top. And if you
If you can see
you
the
can just naturally
topography,
look and you can find those hourglasses.
Yeah.
Like you're talking pinch points. You've heard about pinch points your whole life. And for sure, if there's a big patch of brush and a patch of timber and there's a 20 acre connection or 20 yard connection between them, and there's
Little
crop
draw,
fields everywhere,
little
I mean,
ditch in
there's a
there.
good chance a deer just naturally is going to come through there.
And I think with OnX has been a great tool because I think you can look at a piece of timber and you can tell, all right, that's big timber.
yeah, you can see the
And
tops.
yeah,
These are oak tops.
yeah,
can actually be like,
great big timber.
These are oak tops.
Yeah.
You know,
And you can tell, all right, this is undergrowth,
Right.
real thick. So you can kind of look at those and strategically be like, all right, well, they're probably bedding in this area.
Yeah, because
And then they transition into these oak trees.
you see an opening, it's
Yeah.
thick here, and it may be open across here on this
Yeah,
flat.
you can see the difference
Absolutely.
between the thicket and the
Yeah.
open timber to
Yeah.
some degree. So
all the honeysuckle.
obviously, yeah, you look in there and you're like, well, if like I would use that in a place if I was going into a place unsure, because I could look at it from the top and like exactly what you're saying. So I can tell it's brush there. I can come from the south with the wind in my face and walk through that timber probably pretty good ways and not probably, you don't know that for sure, but probably not bump deer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to press through till I get to that brush and set off of it and see
Yeah.
what happens. But So that's a good
So
tool.
It's
That's
a
good-
great tool. I mean, it's a tool that we've used in the last 24 hours to strategize what we're going to do on another piece
Alrighty.
of property. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
So-
like when we were out walking around, we were looking at like the other day we were out walking around. We were looking at acorns.
Yeah.
You know, we were walking.
That was the next thing I was going to bring
Go ahead.
up. There's a lot of, I would say there's lots of young hunters. I don't hear them talk about acorns.
Yeah.
I walk around
And-
like this.
Like the other day when we were walking
Yeah,
that
we
patch
were-
of
we were-
timber, I was looking for tops of the.
You were
ours-
on the
ours-
ground. I was looking up. I was like, oh, Lathan's
I was-
onto something.
I was
here.
like,
I'm
because
like,
I'm
man, my
always
neck
looking,
hurts. He's got it figured out.
I'm always looking to see, because even one that's not dropping,
The wind to blow them out.
there'll
yeah.
be one that gets away
Yeah,
from them, and I want to
sure.
know what that acorn looks like,
Yeah.
or a
Major food
squirrel.
source.
A squirrel will sample them or something and throw them down.
Birds knock them off. I mean,
Like when I walk, if I'm walking through a woods to my deer stand in October or when the acorns are falling, and I get to an acorn tree, pay attention to this. I noticed this when there's those little caps everywhere.
That's
They
where
don't
they-
eat the caps.
no,
No,
that's
they
what's
don't.
left over.
They're the ones popping them off.
It's like when you get there and you're like, man, there's caps everywhere. And I don't know if you don't know what an acorn cap is. Find there's probably a more scientific terminology than that. Find an acorn, pop the back.
Imagine this with an acorn underneath. it.
Yeah, it's a cap.
Yeah.
When those caps are laying everywhere, rough on one side, cupped and smooth, and lighter
Yeah.
colored on the inside,
Yeah.
and you're not finding hardly any acorns, but there's caps everywhere.
It's because they're in their
It's like,
bellies.
all right, here's the deal.
Yeah.
There's deer eating these acorns.
Yeah.
Just back off, get
You
the
can
wind
hunt that,
right,
yeah.
and set it for an evening, the first evening or two of season,
That'd be good.
and you might be surprised. Old big bully buck may come slip. Now, here's the deal: he probably won't show up until dark 30.
right at dark.
So you're
Or
gonna
he
have-
might run in there and just
they could surprise you. Definitely could come more surprising you down in the
real early
in the
days.
timber. Down
Yeah.
in the timber.
'Cause
Because
I've
so
seen
many
them-
people are just hunting field edges. That's what I was getting ready to
Yeah.
say. So many people, they have totally gravitated their hunting, especially early season, to just hunting the edge of a crop field, which is not,
too.
which is not wrong. I'm
And,
saying,
and here's the thing. This is one thing that Clint brought up earlier in the day. He's like, some guys only know how to hunt food, and that's it. And I think
Right.
he's right,
sure,
because they think, well, here's the food, and because the food is here,
He'll
that's
come
my
here.
strategy.
yeah,
He'll-
that's,
he'll be
that's
here.
basically what I'm saying.
And he
with-
will be there.
like
but
October 1st, 90. I'm gonna throw a number out of like probably 96% of people that first evening are going to be sitting on the edge of the woods
Yeah.
next to what they think is the best place for them to eat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the buck may not be there till an hour after dark.
Yeah.
The
Well,
does are going to show up.
he'll
And
be in that
I
woods
think
on
what
his
you're
feet.
saying has a lot of validity, because that whole getting in the hallway will not be the
No,
kitchen.
that's the kitchen.
Yes.
And he's the last to show up. Like at my house, I'm generally the last one in the kitchen. Another night, I got home and Kristen had fixed food and everybody had ate, and I'm always probably the last to eat because I either stay outside swinging my axe, doing something, and I come in and it was still warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Warm food.
it's, I'm going to eat warm tonight. And it's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's
Yeah.
because I'm the last one.
You're
to get
dragging your
there.
feet. Yeah.
I'm outside doing something, waiting for the sun to go down, burning brush outside, doing whatever I'm doing, or working somewhere.
Who was the last one to show up? Papa Bear.
The buck
yeah.
of the house. I'm the last one.
Goldilocks was
And-
laying in his bed.
Yeah. What are you
Who's
doing?
And
in
it-
my bed?
Yeah, and it will be the same most of the time. There's exceptions to the rule, obviously.
They're on their feet
That's right.
in the timber, in the dark timber. They're on their feet early.
A lot
They're
of
up.
times
They're up moving.
they get out of their bed,
Oh yeah, they
They-
stretch
they
around.
take a pee pee and stretch.
Go munch on some
But I don't
honeysuckle.
think I think they hem haul around.
They do. They wait.
I mean, everybody knows it's hunted a buck that he's generally the last one to show up
Yeah.
on the scene, especially when they're still in groups.
The big ones and normally would be the last one in the group too.
Now, obviously, when November hits, everything
different.
It's all different.
So here's a little illustration that I've drawn up for those at
It's a
home.
wonderful illustration.
So this dot right here, I would call this early October. This is about how much the deer are moving. And then you've got towards the end of October, they start spreading out a little bit. And then let me show you what happens come November. They're
I
like
wonder if anybody can see that. I'm trying to-
they are like
It looks
that.
like you're
There's
just
no
holding up a
rhyme
white-
or reason.
There
Yeah.
really isn't. Like
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
They
So-
literally will come into the woods. Anybody that's never seen this, I hope they do. Some of these young hunters that's seen a buck, literally, like, have you ever seen a beagle dog running down in the woods checking for rabbits?
Yeah.
And his head's on the ground and he's zigzagging through there. And if you've ever seen a buck, literally just like zigzag the entire woods.
Nose to the ground. That's what they're doing.
Oh, it's crazy. It's so awesome. I'm just like, this is incredible.
Which
But that's
more
not
of-
early season.
That's a
So we
rut
need to
hunt.
stop
Yeah, that's-
talking about that. I was
So
just
how's
I
the-
can't wait for that. I'm sorry.
How's he? That is exciting. That's what we're all looking for.
like,
But what does he do? What does he do October 1st?
Oh,
I'll tell you what they
October
do to
1st,
me.
he's right here.
yeah,
And
he's
I'll
right
tell
there.
you what they do to me. If I ever see a big one on October 1st, of course, some of it would lend to there's lots of foliage out. October 1st, when I see a big buck, it's almost like there's a big buck and he's already 30 yards. I never
He-
saw him.
You
I
know
never
why you
heard
didn't
him.
see him? Because he was probably laying almost right there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never heard him. I never saw him
The
until
woods
he's
is
like
quiet.
30 yards.
It
There's
is,
not
yeah.
a lot of noise out there.
Everything's
There's
green.
still, of an evening in October, you still got the frogs or the cricket type
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
out there right before dark, and
Life.
it covers.
And you've
Still
got
hear
about
live.
1 million mosquitoes
Mosquitoes.
in your
If
ear.
anybody needs any mosquitoes, we know where they're at. We can hook you up. The other night, me and Lathan,
We
we're-
found the source of all mosquitoes.
me and Lathan, this is what he said. This is so funny. Obviously, we're all outdoorsmen and have encountered masses and hordes of mosquitoes over
Yeah.
the years. This man looks at me and he goes, I think this is the most mosquitoes I've ever seen in my entire life. And he was like, no, really.
And I used to hunt ginseng like crazy and spend time in the woods and the bottoms, and I just grew up out there, and I was like, I got out of your vehicle on that levee bank.
There was an audible noise.
I was like,
they were audible.
I looked, I was like, oh my.
He said it. He was like,
word.
no, man, really.
Did
I
you
was
guys
like-
take off?
No.
Oh.
I could not
No,
come into
we-
agreement with
we-
him because I was like, yes, there are millions. But I think I've been in a place where there were 10. I was like,
There was,
they were
dude,
bad.
when I looked on my side of your vehicle, it was like,
They were drawn to the white.
it was like
they
they
were-
came to that white vehicle. I was like,
We opened the door and looked out, and it was just like, he was like, and then we came back in
it's
there
like
the
a
next day.
cartoon almost.
We came in to do a food plot, and he goes, do you have some off with you? And I was like, oh yeah, I got some off. And I dug around. I was like, I don't have any off. And he was like, he just looked at me like this helpless look in his
Yeah.
eyes. He's like, what are we going to do?
I said, I'm tempted. You know that old blue stuff? That old blue mud.
The mud.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah,
we
I'm
may
going to get
have
all
to go down
painted
there.
up.
Paint it.
Oh,
I think that's what they did on Lord of the Flies. Covered themselves.
bad, man.
Yeah.
We know where they're at. So if you're looking for mosquitoes,
Might be time to eat piggy.
Yeah.
So what is your early season strategy to keep mosquitoes off of you?
wear off.
I'm not an off guy,
I
man.
don't wear off either, but that evening I would entertain some.
Dripping
Yeah.
off of you. I don't think it would even cut them. It would have
Put
just slowed them down a little bit.
So I'm going to throw this out there for anybody that's watching right now. I can already hear some thunder, pretty serious thunder going on.
Yeah.
And because of that, if the feed gets cut, just know that we appreciate you guys tuning in this evening. We still have probably a good 30 minutes of content to provide you, but we just want to make sure that you guys know in advance that should things happen, it wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't intentional.
We nice knowing.
If the lights go out, we love you.
We've got Rob Vaught on. Rodney's been tuning in. He said that after early beans or corn have been cut and wheat has been planted and is coming up, that's prime
Yeah,
for
that's
him.
good too.
1 year, me and Lathan got on a really good rye field,
Yeah,
and that
they did a
was,
cover crop.
whew,
They did like a cover ryegrass, and
Mhm.
it was like October, the third week.
yeah.
When you're kind of like, man, where are they at? And it came alive in that field. And,
They were out there, huh?
and basically, we were what Clint said. We were hunting food.
Yeah.
Because there's times,
Well,
you-
they were hitting it hard.
there's
So-
times
They
you
were-
do what
They were
you do.
juicing up, getting ready for the big run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And several good deer were coming out in that rye grass. We had to talk to, because we wouldn't, I don't know if we were for sure what it was. This ain't winter wheat. What is this? We talked to
Yeah.
some farmers, and he's like, well, that's ryegrass.
What's your early season?
So one thing I would like to at least hit on is I know that there's a lot of guys that are trail camera guys, And because a lot of guys are using trail cameras these days, whether it's cell cams or, just standard cameras, one thing I would like to touch on is the fact that the deer that you are seeing now might be the same deer that you see come October, but there's a good chance that is going to shift. And another thing is that I think that they're depending upon where your trail camera is at, you might not be seeing near the deer numbers because there's so many deer that are in corn.
Yeah.
And that will change.
It will. As those fields begin to get harvested, those trail camera pictures begin to get bumped up, and the bucks that you see will change. As those bachelor groups begin to break up, and there's a point to where they cannot stand the sight of each other.
I have 2 of them right now. They are besties. If
Yeah.
you see one, there's the other one.
Yeah.
And it's
I
just
know
like
where there's 2 more.
it's like Dumb and Dumber. They're just like, okay, where are we going? And he just
Yeah.
follows
Yeah.
him around.
Right.
But to what you're saying, like, so I have some spots that they're big scrapes.
We've got about 2 weeks. We got about 3 weeks more of that, and then that will stop.
I've been seeing I've been having this group. I have a really big deer. His name's Louie. They're all Louie. So, but this is Louie 1.
Hey, Paul Cantrell's watching this.
Is he?
evening.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah,
What's up, Paul? What's up?
Paul, we appreciate you
We
tuning
do,
in, man.
We love you, man.
That's right.
So I got what I'm seeing is I'm not seeing him all the time. I got one big deer in there, and I'm watching him come through about every 2 weeks. He's coming through. He's hitting scrape, and then he's moving through. And it's like, and
Yeah.
I know as soon as things shift, that's where he'll be. He just kind of coming through, making his loop. But this is
You
where
think after the shift he'll be right there.
that's where he'll be. That's
So-
where he'll be.
And you know that from
From previous,
past-
yeah. Like right now, I'm getting a
past
few
years.
pictures, but as soon as the rut, my cameras I'll have to be unlimited.
Well, that's the way that rooster buck is over on me.
Really?
That rooster
So he's
buck,
just frequenting here.
he never comes on me during the summer.
Mhm.
He's not even he's a mile and a half away from me.
But he'll make his way. Then when it ruts,
But
he'll be
by the
on you.
time season gets in, rooster will be on me. Now, I'm not saying that he will be staying on me. Last year he did not, and
Man, I hope you
there's
kill Rooster Buck this year. I'm just going to prophesy that you do.
there's reasons why I think he didn't stay on me or spend as much time on me, but
They're just lack of does, or
no, I just probably shouldn't get into that.
sure, he's
But-
just not there.
But regardless, yes, he was not staying on me. But in years past, he has. Like, he has spent a lot of
How
time.
long have you been hunting Rooster Buck?
You guys really honed in on him
Last year was the first year. I was going to kill him, and I had a chance to kill him the previous year, and he was a solid deer that year, but he looked nothing like he does now.
So 3 years now. Of,
He was framed up real nice, but he did not have near the points. And then last year he was a solid, I would say he was a 170. He broke off a point. This year I'd say he's a 180 probably,
Oh,
real
well,
close.
that's awesome.
knocking on it for sure.
Yeah.
he's big. That's awesome.
You know, you want to see them when they get their velvet off and start making real honed in decisions on that. But
Yeah.
I mean, he looks nice.
Yeah, he's looking real good.
Yeah. So he's
So
probably 6.
I think he's every bit of 6.
I'd
Yeah.
say he's a 6.
Is he wide?
I honestly think he's 7.
He's not crazy wide, but he's not wide. I mean, he's
Yeah.
He's probably 18.
Three years ago when I got pictures of him, I honestly thought that's a 5-year-old deer. He didn't look like a body of a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Like there's a
Filled
shift.
out.
There's a shift that happens from 4 to 5. That's pretty.
Their haunches
visible.
and their front
Yeah.
end is really it's just different. They
It-
carry more weight.
They
just-
do, and he looked more like a 5-year-old. So, but all that being said, why did I go there?
You're talking about him staying on you.
Yeah.
Yes,
staying
and,
on
and
you.
how they transition from time to time. And
See,
because of that,
I don't gather that intel because I don't have the camera intel to tell me that.
yeah,
So I
You have a friend.
I can't speak to that as much. And I tell people, so this is maybe more of how I look at things. I look at places and properties that I hunt, and I know there's good bucks there.
Sure. It's what
October
you've seen.
1st.
Yeah.
Whether I've seen them from the road or I've hunted in the past. So I know I'm gonna kind of gear myself this way. And then I know, like the place that we did hang your camera,
Yeah.
when the rut's in, there will be good bucks there.
It's our camera. It has your name on
There'll be good bucks there.
He
And
took
when
a Sharpie and wrote your
Your name
name
on
and
it.
your phone number on
when it's right, the wind's right, I'll sit there
That'd be good
and I'll
right
have
there.
stellar hunts there because I've had them there. Like last year, one morning there was like I think I quit counting like at 6 bucks that were Pope and Young were bouncing around in there. I let most of them all. Well, I let them all go, and I'm waiting on that one that I thought was there.
Yeah.
There was a 7-pointer in there that was an old buck that I was going to shoot him, but I only saw him in there one time. I don't have a clue where he went. And the rest of those are all like 3-year-olds that I was like, this year they'll pull on the heartstrings a little harder, I'm sure.
I
So
think
we'll
we're
just
gonna
see.
get some good footage this year. Have some tall tales.
Here's what I would like to throw out. If you guys watch this and you feel comfortable doing so, post a picture of your target buck in the comments.
That's cool.
Will you post yours?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll post Rooster.
Yeah, sure.
Can I post one?
Do you need to get permission before you do that?
I might,
Yeah.
but
I'm gonna post
here's
one.
what I'll do. I will guarantee that I will post at least one solid shooter buck that I'm after. Because here's the thing. Like, there are guys that know where I'm hunting, but here's the deal. In my opinion, if I'm a good hunter,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
It don't
like, sure, they might, neck down where I'm at, but
yeah. Who cares?
I
the
feel like-
terminology, my buck, is really not a right terminology.
it is,
I had
it
a
is
guy-
terrible.
I had a guy go, "Hey man, take it easy on my deer," and I go, "He's a great guy, by the way. We just don't talk about it." I'm just like, "Hey man, they're not your deer
Yeah. Yeah.
when they're on my side of the road.
Yeah.
They're
And
my
they're
deer."
not even, well, they're not even
They're
yours
not mine. They're the
then,
state of Illinois.
They're just roaming around.
How do you post
They
a
don't
picture?
become your deer until the arrow or the bullet or whatever it is goes through them and they're down and your tags on them.
How do you do that?
So that terminology of saying my deer, taking ownership. Now I understand what you mean. Your heart's set upon them. You've set your mind to hunt a certain buck and get him. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but we have
Figure
to
it out, Josh.
We have to, as
I'm
hunters,
struggling.
also be glad when the neighbor gets him
I
Yeah.
want to be. Here's the thing.
or when your friend gets him or
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
or when the guy that you really just don't like gets him.
sure.
The
I
neighbor
mean,
boy gets him.
Because
'cause
I
it's-
feel like in the hunting industry or in hunting in general, hunters should be glad when other hunters kill.
yeah,
Yeah, we should be
'cause
happy
we
for
can
each other.
be. It's a whole nother topic, but we can be our own worst enemy.
We become
We
adversaries,
can.
is what
that
we do.
that old
yeah.
song that they used to sing in church about Christians, we're the only army that shoot our own soldiers down.
Yeah.
And hunters can be
That's
the
not
same
good.
way, because if you do somebody wrong in the fact of hunting and they kill a buck and you throw some shade at them, and here's my thing: long as they killed it right, long as they hunted him, maybe it was their first time in the tree, but they went hunting, they were sitting in a tree that they could hunt in, and they were doing it with a weapon that they is allowed to use in the daylight hours, and they got him. You should be like, man, you should pat them on the back. But most of the time people leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth, and you may very well convince a young person to drop out because
Well,
you know,
here's my thing. If somebody else stumbles into one, I sure hope sometime I stumble into
yeah, we've stumbled into them.
one. Yeah. And
we've killed
because of
bucks
that,
on properties that we hunted the first time.
yeah.
We found out, hey, we can go ask this guy. We hunted this place. We walked in. we killed a buck on the first set on that property that we'd never been on. Nice buck.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say. Now there was a little strategy as far as we looked at it from a topo, and we realized there's some cut over timber there, and let's go up to the edge of that cut over timber. He's bound to be bedded in that cut over timber, or they'll chase does or take their does in there in and out, and out he come, and we killed him, and yada yada yada. We kind of stumbled into that to some degree.
And here's the thing: I hope somebody watches this up for discussion, and they glean something from it to where it's like, I was a better hunter because of that.
Yeah.
And because of that, this year, I feel like you helped me kill something.
And it's just the industry is what's happening. It's driving people apart. It's driving a wedge in people.
It's very cutthroat.
Things are getting so expensive, and where people have large sums of money invested into their hunt.
Yeah.
And so
that's an entire another podcast.
It is.
And I think it's a great topic to talk about.
You'd be far better when you catch, let's just put it this way. You catch a young kid either in your stand, on your property, or something, doing something, maybe not 100%, but he's a 12-year-old that's rode his little 4-wheeler down there and hunted. You'd be far better to take him in and encourage him. Now, I'm not saying you don't look at him. Yeah, I'm not saying you don't look at him and say, here's the deal. This is my woods.
You need to respect this.
And really you need to try to talk to me and talk to the next guy and get permission and all those things. But before you cuss, ream,
scream,
and throw a hissy fit, you'd be better off to sit and have a talk with him. And I would love to see hunters, I'm talking seasoned hunters that kill big bucks, look at people like that and be like, here's the deal. I've got this 80 here. Hunt right here. You hunt this spot right here. Now, if you want to go anywhere else other than this spot, you need to talk to me because I'm hunting this.
I'm here too.
I'm here too. And I'm not going to say that's never going to happen for you. But for right now, hunt here. Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I was a kid. I was a 6th grader that grew up in the country. And it was a different time. We could basically,
you can hunt a lot of ground back
if it
then.
wasn't posted, you could go on it. But every once in a while, I'd be out there in I went and got a little Walmart climber or whatever. And the landowner would come walking up and he's like, you didn't ask me to hunt here. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't. I just thought it wasn't posted. And I had guys tell me, here's the deal. If you'll just stay right here, you can hunt right here.
Yeah. You were respectful.
And that kind of turned me into who I am today to some degree.
Yeah.
And stood up. Now, I had some people ream on me too. And there was times I probably should have been reamed. But there's higher ways of handling it. They could actually promote hunting for the next generation.
I have this exact opportunity that's coming to me. And I've played this scenario over my head over and over. I have a very good piece of property. Pretty soon I will be distant from it and have the opportunity to possibly hand it over to a pretty young man. And
that's nice of you, Josh.
And
to think that I'm a young man.
I was going to say I'm not that much younger than you.
And basically, like how I'm going to approach this is I'm going to approach him and I'm going to be like, hey, listen, I hunt this ground. I'm not going to be here, and if you'll respect that, I'll see to it that next year, and I'll even hook you up like right here, dude.
Yeah.
Here it is. I've worked for years to get this ready, and here you go.
That's cool. That's the way it should be to some degree.
And
I'm not saying we just fold up and let people do whatever, but there's it used to be an engagement of fun, family.
When you would kill deer
stories.
and you would go get to the deer check station, man.
Yeah,
and I mean,
missed that.
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Everybody standing around, you knew who had the big buck because there was a crowd around someone's truck.
So you need to pin.
I miss ugly camo.
We should have an ugly camo night. We should.
Yeah, we do. I like.
I miss ugly camo. I miss the stories. I miss check-in stations.
Yeah,
check-in stations would be a good thing.
Yeah, because so many things have changed.
I miss $250 bows.
Yeah,
220 feet per second.
I miss $13 tags.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Unlimited.
change the episode to the things we miss.
Yeah. Well, what I was
That's
getting
where
ready to
we
say,
went.
Big bucks.
we've missed a few of those. haven't we?
Oh gosh, that's a whole
Yeah.
nother episode.
I was
there.
going to say
Oh.
pin that idea because
Yeah.
we need to. I don't know how you title that or what it is, but you need to maybe have that discussion on a podcast
The one
of
that got away.
Things we miss.
of conduct and
Just
and
ethics.
promoting hunting so that the next
Well,
generation
We're supposed to be sportsmen.
still hunts. You know,
We're supposed to be.
because
You buy a sportsman's license.
yeah,
Oh,
There's not very many. There's not very many sportsmen out there. There's
where
like-
do you find a good
I think we
place?
should throw a flag. Next time I see somebody chewing somebody out about something, I'm gonna throw a yellow flag. Flag on the plate. Flag on the plate. Unsportsmanlike conduct. That'll be 2 weeks in your living room. No
Yep.
more hunting.
No
for
more
two-
hunting.
The
No more
penalty box.
Sportsmanship. There we go.
Yeah,
We're funny. We're a funny bunch of guys.
It's fun.
it's good stuff though.
It is good.
It's funny you can't find a pin that works whenever
That's
you
right.
need
They
one.
don't
Especially when
hardly
you
make 'em.
need them, man.
Yeah.
So here's the best.
Probably came from
here's-
China.
Here's the best strategy for early season.
China.
I'm getting ready to drop it. Are you ready? I'm
Let's
getting
hear
ready to drop
All right.
probably the best strategy for
Let's hear
early
it.
season hunting. Go.
Do it.
Check the wind and go. You
Yeah.
know, you
Get
just
your
gotta
clothes
go.
out and
And there's all kinds of things: high pressure, low pressure, moon, cool weather, all those things. But I tell people most of my I don't think I'm that great. I go a lot.
yeah.
Even though it's less than it used
I think
to
you
be.
still have to say though, with that, don't push in.
No,
Don't go into
you,
bed.
You need to
Yes.
understand what you're doing and where you're
Don't
going.
go into his bed of an evening. Just creep up the hallway real quiet,
Yeah.
like climb a
And
tree
that's
on the
why
downside,
sometimes-
downwind side.
That's why sometimes hunting the food for the average guy
Is
is
a safer
probably a
bet.
smart.
It's a safer
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah,
And I mean, how many big deer come down the edge of a cornfield?
yeah,
A bunch of them do.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I was going to also, so like one of the big things about this is shoot your bow, man.
Shoot your bow.
Don't be
that's
that
one of my
guy who's
biggest
like,
things.
it's September 30th or 31st and be like, oh, I talked to a guy today. I was like, man, you need to start shooting your bow. You know, we're talking,
I
about-
know I need to start shooting my bow. Josh.
He's like, I'm not talking about you. But you finally have a bow to shoot now. So,
Yeah. Well, I almost sold it. today.
that just comes with
I've sold the one
that
I
just-
picked out once already this year.
that comes with being an owner of an archery
Yeah.
shop, I guess, But he was like, oh, no, I'm good. I just get it out of the case and go. I'm like, dude, the thing's not even in spec. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm like, are you tired of shooting him in the guts or sticking him in the shoulder blade? He's like, yeah, I've lost a few. I'm like, well, I'm not saying that it's all the bow,
yeah.
but like
That is one area that you know how I feel about ethics, but I feel like in that regard, if you're not actively shooting your bow, there's an element of that's almost irresponsible.
Yeah.
it
It'll
is. It's
save
kind of
you.
being lazy,
It'll
man.
save you. It'll save you a lot of heartache.
A lot of heartache.
I sure don't want to finger point at guys, but at the same time, what are you out there for, and what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah,
Out there, you
because-
have one opportunity to make, at best, you might have two opportunities to take a good animal, and one if you're lucky, one if you're lucky, two at best to take some good shots.
Well, there's nothing that's going to cut your feet out from under you, like not spending the time shooting your
yeah.
bow.
So that's a good preseason tactic.
It really
for
is.
sure.
And
Pounding some
I would say
shots.
this. I would say this. 2 weeks of at least 3 to 4 times a week
Yeah,
shooting
till you're comfortable with it.
30 to 40 shots at
Yeah.
least. I mean, I'll shoot 100, but I shoot a lot. But what I was going to say, I think it takes about 2 weeks. You'll get your
To
stabilizer
season your-
muscles
yeah.
kind of seasoned. Your shoulders will season in, and you will find yourself, that muscle memory everybody talks about.
Mhm.
You'll just do things
You'll
without even,
acclimate.
because you'll find yourself after 2 weeks, you'll put your release on your bow. And if someone stops to talk to you, you look down, you realize, I don't remember doing that. And it's so programmed within. And that goes for how you hold, how you release, all those
Yeah.
things just start programming
Your
so
form.
that when it's time to shoot that big rascal coming in, you're like, I don't even know how I did it, but I did
I
it
did
because
it.
it's
I just
'cause it's
did it.
there. So I think 2 weeks, 3 to 4 times a week, at least 30 shots in a setting, you know, and you'll find yourself good. I'm not saying you just have to beat the thunder out of your bow all summer. I like to shoot all the time.
And
'cause I
here's
just like to
another
shoot.
thing. Another addition to that is you never know what your equipment is needing
And
if you don't
it out,
shoot it.
dude.
Every day we have guys come into the shop and they're like, I shot my bow and it was shooting good, and then all of a sudden it wasn't shooting good, and I don't know what's going on. And it can be as simple as, you know, your drop away is not dropping like it
Yeah,
should, or
yeah.
but you don't know what you don't know
Right.
until you know
you
it.
don't want to do that. You don't want to find
And
out
when you know it, if you don't know it, it hurts.
Oh,
what. And
And it's a
if you don't
miss or
find
it's
it
a-
out before,
Yeah. It's,
yeah.
And here's another big one, man. This is, and the older I get, I guess I start thinking about this more. Is like, check for guys who hunt tree stands. Man, you need to make sure that you're been checking your strap.
Equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your straps, man, and your cables. You know,
on
like,
your stands, you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
on your
I think that's
sticks and your
important.
stands and
that's stuff that,
That-
man,
sets that have been out there all year.
that's a big deal. And
I'd
when
go in right now and just reset them.
and
Yeah.
when
you
I
don't
was a
have to
kid,
take it out of that
just break them
jury.
loose,
Break them loose, put
put a new
lay
strap on,
put a
new
reset
strap on.
it, rebite it. You know, that is
You
good.
know, that's a big deal, man. When I was younger, man, I would just
I didn't think about it.
I
either.
just climb in there.
but
You
I've
know?
hit the ground before.
Have you? You had
Mhm.
a cable break?
Strap broke.
Yeah, it happens.
Down in McLean's.
It was already broke. It was
And my
probably all
cousin-
but pulled in
My
two.
cousin Anthony was watching. It was a stand I hadn't set for a long time. Been out there a year. We were down in McLeansboro. He was like, "You got a place I could set?" I was like, "Yeah, on my wife's uncle's ground." I said, "We need to check that stand though, like a big dummy." My way of checking it was
Let's go get in it.
step out on it.
Give her
And
the
I
old-
stood there for about 4 seconds. I think I got out of my mouth, "Looks good." Snap. And I fell about
on the way
16
to the
foot
ground. On
and
the
hit
way to
the ground. And it, praise the Lord, didn't get hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it hurt. Don't get me wrong.
Sure, but it
And
could,
there's one side of my heel still has no feeling in it
Yeah.
to this
well,
day.
it could take your life. You know, and
So check them out. That's good preseason, early season stuff too. Make sure everything's on the up and up, on the legit. We know a person, our good friend Roy. He had a strap break.
Derek
hurt him
Lee,
bad.
he hit
Yep,
the ground.
Derek,
Derek
you
got
hear
hurt.
about it every year. So
You know.
so and a lot of those that you hear about is that very thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's last year's
And-
stand.
And these are good hunters. These are guys that don't neglect things. These
Sure.
are just, this was accidents happen.
It
I
just slips up on you.
Yeah.
You think, I'd be all right.
Well, how many times have you seen like the old cheap ratchet strap where the weld pops loose on it, you know, and you're
Yeah.
like, baby,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, make it.
Yeah. The older you get, the more you
I'm
think,
like,
yeah,
"Nah,
maybe
that
not.
won't- that-
I don't
that ain't-
bounce as high as I
That ain't
used
gonna
to.
work for me. Yeah.
So let that be a service announcement for you. If you guys haven't checked your straps, make sure you do that because it's more important for you to live
Yeah.
than it is for you
It's
to
good
die.
to go home after you're done.
Yeah.
hunting.
Yeah,
We want to hear the stories, man. We want
Yeah.
to hear about the big deer you killed.
that's right.
Multiple straps, Jay says.
Put
I
two
have
on there, man.
inventories for I got 2 on there, and I put another 2 on this year, and another 2.
You got them all.
Yeah,
Bunch
we
of
don't
them.
ever take them off. Just stack
You just
them.
layer them up.
Yeah.
I'll be able to tell where you're hunting at. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's 4 straps.
Well,
on
you
that
won't
stand.
because I don't have very many hang-on stands. My
Doug
stand-
he uses the big straps.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Doug is a
Like
man
the
with
3
with
inchers or
many
whatever.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a big strap that is growed probably 8 inches into a sycamore stand or into a sycamore tree, and I bet you I could still get in that thing. Like, it's just like, for one, it's in the tree now.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to cut them out with a saw?
Oh,
Don't-
yeah.
Josh, don't tell people that because that's the
I know,
kind
that's-
of behavior we're trying to
That's
teach people.
that's
not
actually
to do.
opposite of what we should be
It's
Yeah.
the
doing.
old days when
That's
you were
the-
much younger.
When I was much younger.
2 or 3 years ago.
Far dumber.
But yeah, the big straps. The big straps are definitely. I will definitely double strap.
Well, I
on.
don't have that issue because I don't hunt much out of a lock on or a ladder stand. It's my little EXO or my climber almost every
Yeah.
time my stand goes in and comes out with me.
You
Maybe
can't
the
tra-
older I get,
you
that
can't triple strap and double strap.
you can't double strap and triple strap. Oh yes, I can. We've done it. We've done it.
Probably gonna try a little saddle hunting this year.
I would like to saddle.
I think
hunt.
we should. We should.
So I'm going to take my XOP with us elk hunting.
That's what he said.
You
You're
were-
going to
yeah.
put it over a wallow.
I think it may pay dividends.
I think it would be at least fun to try it.
Well, here's what it could help. Say you're on day 3 and you've got a knee that's bugging you
Yeah.
And I
or-
need some rest.
or something. You could take a day and go set over a wallow. If we hit a wallow, you pin it
Yeah.
on your phone and you're like, this is a muddy, stinky wallow.
Well, I pinned a bunch whenever we were there last time, and
Oh,
there was
they'll
a
be there
couple of
again.
them that were absolutely wore out.
Yeah. So,
So I know exactly where they're at, and I'm going to go to that spot and say,
and this, I heard Colorado's a little dry right now.
"Oh, really?
I heard that from a guy the other day that
So
was
they'll
in
be
here.
in
That's
the
got
water, won't they?
So those wallows will still be there because there's springs and
Yeah.
stuff that feed
They
them.
may really focus there.
But they could be more so working wallows if it's hot and
Yeah.
dry, because they're naturally going to that spot anyway to get a drink. And then they like
That's early
They like that.
season."
they like to pee in their drinking water.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos of them.
Yeah.
They seem to be like,
Bill Sprinkler.
Yeah, that's what it looks
Yeah.
like.
just a
The
little
day
bit,
be-
and just all
The
over.
day before the Friday football game, when they got the sprinklers out there. Wrap it up. We've been
Oh.
talking long enough.
Oh.
We've switched to elk hunting.
Yeah,
We have.
we're ready to do that.
It's been a good evening.
Yeah,
It-
it is.
yeah, we are about 2 weeks out from moving over to elk hunting. We'll be out, but that does not mean the shop will be closed. We've got trained and qualified people that will be
Professional.
running the shop, and we've even got Doug that'll be here.
Poor Doug.
No, we're just playing.
Doug's good. Doug's good.
And because of that, if you guys have any needs in regards to your bow, make sure that you get it in. Now is a great time. Like we've been talking all evening, make sure that you're preparing, getting things ready, because we want to make sure that your setup is ready to go come October 1st.
Right on.
This episode is episode 32, sponsored by Ultra Products. If you guys wouldn't mind, please like, share, comment. We appreciate all the comments this evening. You guys have been great, and we appreciate it. We appreciate Rob Vaught, Paul Cantrell, Jay Wallace, Rodney Hawkins. All you guys have been tuning in. Clint Harvey. We appreciate it, fellas. And we know that you guys are definitely helping us grow this thing, and we can't say thank you enough. So, Lathan, you got anything you want to throw in there?
It's good.
Yeah. All right. We're going to crash out this evening, and we'll probably be back in the morning with a Not Up for Discussion. If you guys get a chance, tune in for that, where we talk about God's word and things that are not up for discussion. But for this evening, this has been up for discussion, and it's about that time. We got 45 days roughly, guys. So make sure you're thinking about getting your setup ready. Until then, we'll catch you guys later. This has been this has been up for discussion.
Yes.
There
Not
we
up
go.
for discussion.
And we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.